Welcome to the interview episodes of the Legal Soul Speak podcast organized by the Edzorb Law team. Today we are interviewing Mr. Vaibhav Soni, rank 7 in Rajasthan Judicial Services Examination 2016, who is here to give us an essential insight to the tedious and monotonous preparation journey of judicial services. Mr. Vaibhav, very pleased to have you on our session today. Could you please introduce yourself and professionally and academically to our listeners and readers out there?
Hello, Preeti. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this podcast. I will introduce myself by introducing that presently I am an additional civil judge in Pali, Rajasthan. And basically, I am from Jodhpur, Rajasthan. So my journey has been like 3 years old as such for the judicial preparation, but I prepared for the examination in 2015 and 2016, and in the first attempt I got till the interview stage, but I could not qualify. But in 16 I got into it and I got 7th rank, and completed my graduation BA LLB course from Nirma University in 2015 itself. And thereafter I worked briefly with Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation as legal expert, and being in the job only, I attempted for Rajasthan Judicial Services and I got into it. So this has been a brief experience. Right. And academically, yeah.
Right. So we will be taking up few essential questions from the audience, and also we've accumulated few questions from their end as well, and something that will help the aspirants as of now in their preparation modalities. The very first question that I want to ask you is, there is a common myth, if I must say, that a judicial aspirant must be someone of a very high IQ or should be very intelligent to get through these examinations, in the way that a lot of students, before even appearing for it, judge themselves or consider themselves a misfit for this examination. So what would you like to comment on that?
Preeti, I would like to point out that definitely it's a myth, because it's actually not necessary, or it is not the barometer to judge to come to appear in this examination and to compete. And what I feel is one should not prejudge just before appearing only. And I also myself thought of this thing only before I was appearing, and this thing got cleared when I appeared for the first time and I got till the interview, because I was also an average student always in the college and school also. So it is definitely a myth. And what I feel is, actually the thing necessary is the consistency and the smart work in approaching towards this examination.
Right.
That's what I think. And in the present times, when this study material and everything is available online only, and it is so approachable that you can get to the core material from anywhere, this e-learning process has made it very easy for the aspirants to gather all the information at their doorsteps. So I think that the consistency and the smart work may be in detecting or knowing the approach of the paper framers, that how they are asking the questions from this particular syllabus, that a person has to tap on. That will give them an edge rather than IQ maybe.
Right.
That's what I think, Preeti.
Right. So what you're saying is that things were slightly different when you were appearing for the examination, and now you do believe that aspirants have much common modalities catering them good material online and offline, and that for them at this point of time it is a better option to utilize better strategies to go ahead and succeed into this exam, rather than judging themselves academically, because all they need on is working hard and smart on it.
Yeah, indeed, that's true. And since the online material, since it is available free at various websites and applications, now it has become very easy for the aspirants, maybe in their the 5-year LLB course also, that they can start early preparing from anywhere they are located in the country. So it's quite good opportunity for people now who are thinking into the judicial services. It was not that easy because everybody used to attend a particular coaching institute or maybe going to some place where the like judicial coachings are there. So it has become really very good for the people who are now aspiring to come into judicial services. Definitely.
Well said. I think that is also a good point that people can start off early with their preparation and not waste many years in this journey. I'll be moving on to the next question. Do you have any specific struggle or story within your preparation or maybe through your life that you had to go through and it would have taken? Is there any tips or motivation tips that you would offer to people who are struggling somewhere, maybe financially in their personal life, or even with academics that they can overcome through this journey?
Preeti, as such, I don't have that motivational or struggling story which people find in various interviews of people who get selected. But I must definitely say that clearing this examination has given me a bit of motivation. That if you can if you think to get into something, then it's not that difficult. You just have to move inch by inch, and you have to give the efforts also for that particular inch only. And uh, since continuously if you give efforts, you will definitely reach to the point where you want to be. So what I think is the motivation should be to get into you have to be definitely you have to be focused for a particular target, and you don't have to prejudge yourself, as I earlier said. You
Mm.
just have to make a consistent effort inch by inch, so that you can get to that position.
Mhm.
And those people who, like you said, financial crunches or just situations like that,
Mhm.
now I don't think that this should be a motivation for everybody to get into the judicial service, because it's quite a reputed job, and there is a social recognition for it. And maybe it's a good permanent government job, well paid job. You can
Mhm.
just get into it after your graduation. That's the plus point. You need not to get into practice and get that experience.
While you were enlightening us through your journey, you said self study seems sufficient, right? You do not need excessive coaching for lectures. For some, let's say today I do not have the finances to go in for a full-fledged high rated coaching industries.
Yeah.
Should I believe that I'm still capable of clearing judicial services?
Yeah, definitely. The good point in the judicial service examination is that you have a definite course structure, the particular statutes that are being asked, and that also in all the examinations, like all the states conduct their judicial service examination. So if you are prepared the major portion of the law, which is
Mhm.
particularly a limited statute which you have to
Mhm.
prepare.
Mhm.
So what I think is the self study point is sufficient for the preparation, because there is a limited course module which you have
Mhm.
to study.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, I would like to also mention that if you are studying in a group, maybe in your college or maybe after graduation, 4 to 5 people, if they are sitting together and discussing the
Mhm.
issues and getting the pattern of the papers which are being asked, that is, I think, more than sufficient. You need not to attend any class to get the whole core of the subject. It is not necessary. It is just the barrack which have already started while you're in your graduation. The major subjects already are being covered, and the minor subjects are just principally they belong to the same, like they are basically the same, just you have to read them and understand, and you have to remember, maybe.
Right.
That's the case. So self study is sufficient,
So
I think,
basic
according to me.
companionship helps in retaining and discussing and
Yes, it definitely.
getting you through days.
Yeah.
Right, right. What are the most important to dos or strategic to dos that an aspirant should always keep in mind? If we have to talk about 3 to 4 important must or requirements for judicial services, how should they go about with their strategy once they start preparing for judicial services?
Yes, that is the major part of this preparation, or for maybe any competitive examination. You at least must know that how you are approaching this particular examination.
Mhm.
So if like for any other examination, in this examination also you have to be very precise in seeing the previous year papers, I think,
Mhm.
because once you see them and like if you get them, what are the questions being asked and how they are being framed, what is being regularly asked by the examiner, that particular thing you have to gather from the previous year papers only. Although the course module is limited, but still there are numerous provisions and numerous things mentioned in the statute. Actually, the thing is that statute is not in the form of a textbook which is to be read and understood.
Mhm. Right.
It is basically a law. So
Right.
what you have to gather is what is being particularly asked,
Right.
since many people may not have attended courts, so they may not know what is being, how practically the statutes are being used in the courts. So what they can gather this information from the previous year papers, like the what practical questions are being asked,
Mhm.
so that they can get equipped and they can get their focus more on those provisions and that part of the statutes. So I believe previous year papers are definitely a very important thing. A person who's preparing for judicial service, he must see it, he must understand the nature and the pattern in which questions are being asked.
Mhm.
And secondly, I would also like to mention that what I believe and I followed is that is being said by our parents, grandparents, that the more you write, more you learn. So
Right.
there is a necessity to memorize in this examination. You need to memorize certain things. So more you write and practice, that will give you an edge in the mains examination also, and that will also make you learn things quickly, so and memorize them. So I believe writing and learning is a another to do list, one must do it.
Right.
And lastly, I would also like to mention that preliminary examination is not to be taken lightly, because it is the entrance in the
Mhm.
mainstream. So
Mhm.
one must be very cautious while preparing for the preliminary examination. He should practice questions. There are numerous question banks available in the applications, on in books also. There I have been this smart technology and the e-learning process has given so much edge that student can refer to the question banks, their
Mhm.
explanation. One
Mhm.
must attempt more and more uh, objective type questions, so as to they can particularly get into this mains examination. Once they get into it, it will be like very easy for them if they have like studied well in the college and maybe prepared well. It will be a very easy task ahead. So one must focus on this preliminary examination also.
Right, right. For anyone who's listening to us and the aspirants who continue to flood in questions which says, how do we start the preparation for judicial services, or what are the ideal way to begin it? Like every rank holders, Mr. Vaibhav has the same opinion for you, that you need to get started with your past year papers. Before you get started, you need to know what is the demarcation of your syllabus, what is the asked frequency, what are the topics that are touched upon more frequently. The only way to assess it is to go through question banks, go through past year papers for the specific state that you're preparing for, and do not start off without planning. And then for mains as well, and he's emphasized that prelims is the first and foremost step. So if you're getting any guidance where people ask you to take prelims for granted, that would be a major mistake. That would be one of the common mistakes that people make when they end up preparing for mains and wait very last moment to get started with prelims. That can be avoided. Okay, in the same line, Mr. Webber, any 2 to 3 mistakes that you have, maybe in and around your colleagues, you've seen people making more often for judicial aspirants? Because we have seen a lot of students coming from year one of attempt to year two to year three. And it is a known fact somewhere anyone who is attempting judicial services is prepared for a couple years, and considering the exam pattern also. So in such situation, also with pandemic, we are expecting lineup of examinations this coming year, since 2020 didn't come up with many notifications. So, how do you recommend what mistakes to not make in such a situation? And what are the common mistakes that any new or fresh aspirant ends up making due to lack of guidance?
Preeti, I believe the major problem is that people want to cover the 100% syllabus, and like they want to get 100% efficiency in whatever they are doing. So this creates a time management problem for themselves, and also like they get shaken up by the course, since there are numerous provisions and numerous things in the statutes. So what I believe is, since I have already told that previous year paper are really very important for judging that how are the questions being asked. So what I believe is that a person should not focus to get 100% marks, or maybe like to know everything.
Right.
One person should aim that he should get around 50 to 60 marks, like in the Rajasthan Judicial Service civil and criminal paper are of 100 marks. So one should, if the person is getting 60% marks also, then he is in the top 10 list. There is no problem in that. So one should focus on the core areas which is being regularly asked, and the focus should be on those provisions. Similarly, I have also seen that people consult various textbooks on a particular subject only. They keep on reading books, rulings, and etc. What I believe and what I have prepared while I was preparing, I limited myself only to the statutes, and I read them. And where there were issues which I was not able to understand, or there were issues in understanding, or which required elaboration, only for those points I consulted textbooks. So what I believe is, for the majority of the part, for the procedural part, one must only limit themselves to the statutes. This will save time, and this will uh, additional information will burden your mind. So it is not required. One should not get into it. The examiner does not want you to be explain elaborately. They just want that you know the procedure or not. So if you are limiting to the statute, it will be time saving, and it will not burden up your mind. Also, there is another myth that a person has to learn all the statutes by word and section, and they have to put in the answers that way. It's not the case. If you are able to mention the elements of the provision, and also if you are illustrating it, it is pretty fine. It is not necessary that the person should memorize everything word by word and by section. You must at least know the elements. If you're mentioning them, it's pretty fine. If you are aware about the section number of a particular question, then it's good. Otherwise, there is no necessity. The examiner is not wanting that you should know it word by word. You have your books in the court, you can anytime consult. They just want to understand that you know the principle or not. So one should not give away time in memorizing section by section and word by word. This is what I believe is the major mistakes which people make, and even I made in my first attempt.
Precisely what you ended up elaborating is, it is called anti-Parkinson's rule. Whenever we have a target which is far off, we try and over prepare for it. At least in our head, we believe that we are going to, if we have 6 months time or we have 1 year time, we are going to be very good with the subject. We are going to make sure that we score enormously. And I think that is what, to not prepare 100% right away, maybe complete the syllabus first. And you emphasized on a very important point, is to limit your sources so that you can revise them more, rather than overburdening yourself with a lot of sources and a lot of study material from 10 different places and confusing yourself. I think we can move on to one question, which is, gradually we are seeing that the pattern of judicial services examinations and the regularity is to some extent getting steady. So more and more students who are in their first year, final year of LLB within this range are also planning ahead of time that they want to appear for judicial services. What advice would you like to give them if they're in their LLB curriculum and they do not want to waste many years into this preparation? What should they do right now to be ahead of others?
Vriti, it's good that people, are getting so focused in their preliminary years of this graduation, because people, until fourth year, fifth year, don't realize that where they want to go, because, they end up attending various internships in corporate law firms. So if people are focusing themselves on judicial service, it's very good. And I would like to suggest them that in this majority of their time in the college, what they can do is they can, get get through with the major subjects, the procedural laws and the substantive laws, which are being asked in all the examinations, all the judicial service examinations. So if they are good with, they are equipped with the law, the reading part of those particular major subjects, it will give them an edge in while preparing for the particular judicial service examination. So one thing they can do is they can focus on the major subjects during their curriculum when they are being taught, and even otherwise when they are in college. They can consult their professors and also practice questions. The mains in an examination also they can they get the practice of writing, answer writing practice, so that it becomes easy when they appear for the mains examination. And other thing which I believe is the major part is in the during the LLB course. There are various instances when the students get to participate in the debate competitions and this moot courts and such type of activities. One should also actively participate in those things also, because that will shape their personality. Because it is just not about the statute or the learning part. You will have to face the interview also, where you will be judged by the 3 high court judges or whatever the quorum in any other examination it is. So your personality is also to be nourished during this particular years, and you should be equipped, or you should be aware about the happenings of the country also. What is the legal developments which are happening. So one must also keep an eye on this developments and the personality development thing during this course. This is what I believe.
That would be an advice to all the students who are currently pursuing LLB or planning ahead of time for judicial services. You are already.
I would like to also add. Preeti, here that people can also, since there are a number of people who are wishing to join judicial service, so they have a group in the college only. So they can give more time to the group study in the college only, so that they are well equipped when they get out and graduate from the college.
Right. Yeah, and we have seen that with a lot of people are so preoccupied with their phones and computers, so that general discussion has reduced over time. I believe they are populating the discussion forums, but we don't know how 2 friends or 3 friends sitting together and discussing the subject. That comes quite in handy. It definitely enhances the retainability of any subject that you're discussing together, and you'd probably remember that point while you're addressing your answers even in the exam, and keeps you good paced up, and healthy competition helps. Since we have just you mentioned about corporate jobs, let's confront this. Why did you choose judicial services over the fancy corporate jobs that you could have gone in for?
Preeti, I would like to mention here that I did not choose basically this judicial service. What I thought was, I got internship opportunities in Delhi, Bombay during my college time, and when I was there, I attended these law firm jobs and interned there, and I got to know that I don't want to do that particular job, and like I don't wanted to live in those cities. I wanted to live in Rajasthan and spend the rest of my life in Rajasthan only. So this was a pretty good option for
Would you advise a person who is, confused right now, is getting a decent package for corporate jobs, does not have an issue? What should be the drive for judicial services? And what would be the benefits that one gets out of it?
Yeah. Indeed, in the present COVID times, what I have witnessed here, that people, although are being well paid in the law firms, but there is a lack of job permanency as far as the corporate jobs are concerned. But this job offers you a permanency, a settled job, and a good pay with all the other perks, good accommodation and everything. And in addition to everything, you get a work satisfaction, because in the law firms, I don't think people get recognition so early.
Right.
And as compared to the corporate jobs in judicial service, when you are presiding a court, and if you are judging a particular case and deciding, if you're giving your
to the society as well, right? You are a direct,
yes,
purpose-driven job.
Yes. Yes, yes. You get recognition in hand. Like every day, if you are giving your efforts, you are getting a return, work satisfaction also, and recognition also. So it definitely adds up. And rest, it is on the particular person how he perceives what he wants in his life. This is a good job. It like after 10 to 5, you don't have to worry about anything. There's a peace of mind, and like this way, if you think it's very good, you get to live in like rural areas also, tehsil level also. So you don't get that metro life, that fast forward life. If you're okay with it, then it's really a nice job. You get work satisfaction, good payment, good perks. Apart from
But
that, you
that
have
is
social
true India,
recognition.
right? That true India
Yeah,
lies not in the metro cities. It lies
yeah.
where you can change things for people. I think that satiety of work is beyond the level of for a temporary period of time. But this is a good experience. It keeps you motivated, I
Yes.
suppose, from day to day.
Yes,
Uh,
people are coming from corporate jobs, leaving their corporate jobs and
yeah, we've
preparing for
seen
maybe judicial
shifting
services
trend
and
recently. We've
yeah.
seen people who are appearing, who've got decent packages into corporate jobs, but still are very motivated to head into judicial services. Gradually, that trend is rising. So,
Yes.
mhm. Okay, we can move on to a couple of more questions. We have less time on us, but we'll try and squeeze in a few more. So, since you have cleared Rajasthan Judiciary, and there
Yeah.
are enormous number of people appearing for the state exam, and post pandemic, we are expecting everyone to appear for all the exams, at least for Hindi speaking belts. I think a lot of states we see people from Assam appearing for Madhya Pradesh, someone from Haryana appearing for Bihar. So we are expecting increased competition in this coming year. What do you think is the secret to clear Rajasthan Judicial Services in terms of the syllabus pattern or going from prelims to mains to interview? What should one be vigilant about? They want to crack Rajasthan Judicial Services this time itself.
Since I've only appeared for the Rajasthan Judicial Service, so
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that how I prepared for it, and the basic thing is that as I already mentioned, that you have to know the pattern how the questions are being asked. So if you see that pattern, you will see that not only from the major subjects, the questions are being put from the minor subjects also, and particularly the local statutes.
Right.
So one thing I would like to point out that whoever who wishes to prepare for Rajasthan Judicial Service must give sufficient time for minor subjects as well and the local subjects as well, apart from the major subjects. This is one thing which one person should keep in mind both for the preliminary examination and for the mains perspective, because questions are being asked regularly from local subjects also.
Right.
Apart from that, what I believe is that the in mains examination, the Hindi and the English essay part is a very scoring thing, which people tend to loosen up while preparing only for the law subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Out of there are two papers of 50 marks each,
Mm-hmm.
and it like for 100 marks, this 100 marks, if you're getting like 50 to 60, 70 marks, people are getting in
Mm-hmm.
good marks in essays. So if you're getting good marks, it gives you edge in the mains total, because even if you get low marks in the law subjects, if you're getting high marks in these essay papers, it will get you into the interview. This I have felt in both of my attempts.
Okay.
I got only 50% marks maybe in the both judicial the law papers, but I scored well in the essay part. So this gave me an edge, and it made me through the mains examination to the interview.
Right.
So this one should not leave that preparation. One should definitely prepare for English and Hindi essays. They
Mm-hmm.
should present themselves very well. And I would also like to mention that presentation is also very important in mains examination. That gives you an extra mark, the extra edge. Even if you know the law, if you're not able to present them well,
Mm-hmm.
like it gives you
So
backstage, I
apart
think.
from what content you choose to inculcate in your answers, how you structure it or how you present it is
Yes,
important, right?
indeed. Indeed.
Okay. All right.
I
Uh,
would also
how
like
is
to mention that one should also focus for the Rajasthan GK also, because
Mhm.
for the part of interview, questions are being asked on as a superficial understanding of Rajasthan state and geographical conditions and everything, the festivals, traditions of Rajasthan. So
Right.
one should also focus on that particular part also while preparing for interview.
So, do you recall any couple of questions that was asked in your interview for Rajasthan Judiciary?
Yes, the funny thing in my interview is that in both the interviews, I was asked the similar questions. I don't know how it happened, but
Mhm.
it happened somehow. And although the judges were different, but still the questions were being asked in the similar way. The first question in my first interview was asked for the regarding the disposal of property provision, that is 451 to 459, and that particular part was something which I was not able to understand during my preparation. Although it's very easy, but I didn't understand it that moment. And the first question was fired to me with regarding these provisions only. So I missed it, and I completely lost the control at that
Right.
particular moment. So one should also be very cautious that it is not necessary that you know every answer. I missed it, and that whole interview went wrong of my first attempt. So these were the questions. I was asked questions related to tort law, contract law, and also regarding demonetization, because that happened at that particular moment only. So it was a wholesome. It was related to my hobbies also. Various questions were asked. So they just want to know that how aware you are about your surroundings. That is very necessary.
Okay, got it. So I hope that that insight helps people who are appearing for Rajasthan Judicial Services. My last question is going to be directed in a way where any aspirant from any part of India who intends to has strong willpower to go in for judicial services and let's say does not have a direct access to big shot guidances that are available. How do you think smart learning plays an important role? Because we at Edzorb Law, think I can share the screen and show you some live images. We are taking up elaborate mains test series where we are providing personalized and a very high quality guidance and feedback to people who are appearing and practicing answer writing or essay writing or judgment writing or translation wherever they need be. And so we evaluate, and this is taken care by collaborating experts in our field, and followed by, of course, we totally propagate smart learning in terms of having to utilize those 5-minute pockets probably when you're brushing your teeth or having a sip of tea or stuck in a metro or commuting in a car, that you can run through some case law flashcards, some past year paper pointers, some frequently asked questions, or summarizing lengthy concepts into mind maps with some high modernized techniques that we utilize with our artists, and making general knowledge a little interesting for students, because GK/GS is a point of friction for a lot of law students because it is out of their curriculum for so long, and now they have to, and general knowledge questions are not so general. They are quite specific from any random place. There's no defined structure or syllabus. So we've attempted to make it interesting for students. We provide very strong concept building, which is visual and pictorial, complete explanations and concepts with relevant case laws, subject interlinkages, current affair interlinkages. I mean, we are innovating every day. Now we are also coming out with podcast series. How do you think this kind of approach is going to be helpful to students?
If I see the screen and I can see that it's quite innovative, informative, and it's to the point. So what I believe is that this particular modus for preparation was not available when maybe I was preparing. So this e-learning process has given an edge and efficiency to the aspirants, and it's very necessary. This visual and pictorial thing is very necessary for memorizing, because the reading part definitely is not that effective as the visual thing is. So it is, I think, a very nice initiative by you and your team, that they are giving this opportunity to learn this whole of this course module in such an easy way, and accessible to them at any place wherever they are in the country. That's really a nice initiative from your side, and it will definitely add up to the efficiency of the aspirants. And this is the time, this is the present contemporary way of preparation, I think. Otherwise, the people who are, stuck up in the orthodox system of preparation is will definitely get behind, I think.
Mhm.
This is the present time, the way to prepare for the judicial service, I think, or maybe for any competitive examination. I
Right,
think
right.
it will definitely add up to the efficiency.
Right, right, right. Got an audience question which says, how do you deal with judgment writing? This is again a very common question that we face. How was your approach towards judgment writing?
Yeah, that's really a good question, which because it is not being taught in the 5 year course maybe, and it is just for this examination one has to prepare. I
Right.
believe for this there is a what I believe is there is e-court website.
Mm-hmm.
From there you can refer to any particular district or any particular state, and
Mm-hmm.
you can download judgments from the website, and you can see the format
Mm-hmm.
or the way the judgments are being written, because majorly the persons who are checking, particularly in Rajasthan, are judicial officers only. So what is the thing is that if you are able to get the format how the thing has to be written, because it is not the case that they are seeing that whether you have judged the case right or wrong. It is not the examiner perspective while checking the paper. It is just that one the student has presented the particular judgment writing in a particular format, and like they have mentioned everything or not, they have whether they have framed issues, whether they have, it is a part of, for the question, the examiner to know that whether you know the procedural part or not, because in the judgment you'll have to write various stages which
Mm-hmm.
has crossed. So that is the part of the format that will give the understanding that you know the procedural laws, and you are able to write or articulate your views. That is the case. So you read more and more judgments of the lower court, because lower court judgments are different from the high court and the supreme court judgments. So
Mm-hmm.
you will able to get the format and the way they are being articulated. So it is necessary, one must, you can, that is very easily accessible. And there are for the books also available regarding this. So if they want to buy purchase books, that is also a good option. Otherwise it's freely available on e-code, so you can download and you can read, and it will give you an idea. Rest, it's just the facts you have to mention in the format that you have to make. Otherwise it is not necessary that how the judgment which you have written is right or wrong. It's just the way your writing that is being checked by the examiner.
Right, 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 Mr. Vaibhav. I think I've exhausted you with questions, and you have been so patient and cooperative to answer all the questions that we had. And is there anything else that you would like to add to any aspirant? Because you yourself is someone who can inspire and directly motivate students who are at this point of time struggling with this preparation journey. Is there anything that you'd like to add from your end?
I would just like to add that a person who is aspiring for judicial service must not prejudge themselves. There is nothing in this particular examination which a person cannot, like it's very difficult or it requires high intelligence. It is not. It is really not the case. It is just that your consistent efforts and your smart work which will take you through this examination, and one must not fear at all. And as far as the corporate jobs and judicial service, this issue is there, comparison is there. I believe that if a person wants a peaceful life, good job, and a reputed job, definitely it's a good choice, and it's a smart choice maybe, because you get to a good stature in the society when you once you qualify, and you'll be able to give, you'll able to get job satisfaction also and service to people. That will be a very good career option maybe. So one should not prejudge and get into it, the preparation part. And definitely a person who is giving his 100% efforts, and if he is consistent, he will definitely get. There's nothing which will stop him or her for qualifying the examination.
Right, right, right. So, I think if I have to summarize you in one statement, I think what you have made sure to emphasize the entire time is consistency is the key, and to go in from, you said, inch by inch. So, go for smaller steps, focus on your day, your current day, and make sure that is to your satisfaction, and day in and day out the effort, continuous effort, will pay off one day. Mr. Vaibhav, it was such a honor having you on the platform, and thank you for spending such enormous time with us and inspiring people who need it. I think that is all worthwhile, when anything you do inspires people and you're able to help someone. We had such a good experience having you on board, and thank you for contributing.
Thank you, Preeti, and I once again wish everybody listening to the podcast all the best, and all the best for the examination.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Thank you. That was Mr. Vaibhav Soni with us. Hope this has helped you if you're preparing for Rajasthan Judicial Services. Thank you and bye bye for this episode. And we'll see you back again in the next interview.